6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1,
United have
0.
reached the promised land.
Well, good morning, everybody. It's the day after that game against Arsenal, a 3-2 defeat. The second game in succession in the Premier League where Manchester United have conceded past the 90th minute. A 1-1 draw against Crystal Palace and a 3-2 defeat away at Arsenal. It's pretty much put us out of title contention. I absolutely stand by the conversation we were having last Monday that Manchester United were in title contention, depending on what happened this week. And we got a draw and a defeat. It's not the main purpose of this season. The main focus has always been top four, but we had a little bit of, we were dreaming for approximately a few days. That game against Arsenal yesterday was the best game between United and Arsenal that we've seen. I'd like you to tell me in the comments when you think the last good game of that level from both teams was in the Premier League. We'll run through it. It was disappointing, yes, but there are overall positives that we absolutely have to focus on. And I will make sure that they come back to the top of the conversation, back to the front of the conversation here this morning. We'll run through absolutely everything from yesterday. From Ten Hag's comments about the mentality problems that still exist inside this squad, to Roy Keane questioning whether not whether Manchester United have made progress, but Roy Keane basically being Roy Keane. Gary Neville, his reaction. I'm going to run through the latest on Harry Kane. All that story broke over the weekend. It was Chris Wheeler from the Daily Mail, which I will cover in a full video at lunchtime today on this whole Harry Kane situation. So don't worry, I'm not ignoring it. But, you know, games are coming every 3 days. It's thick and fast. Who's down here in the comments? Let me have a look. Asante, good morning to you. Dean, I can see you there. Fidel, Man, Paula, Spence, Teresa, Sashi. Oh, watching from Japan. Always. Two of my mates have actually just booked a 3-week trip to Japan. Random fun fact for you this morning, everyone. And Josh, Carl, I can see you there. Julie, good morning. And I think someone's down there. Let me see. Oh, down there. Mate, Spence, indeed. Look at that for a way to start with the community this week. Spence 92, you just gifted 5 memberships. What a lovely gift this morning to kickstart the week. Who was it? Josh, you've just been gifted a membership. Cheeky. Charlie Hughes, you've got one as well. Look at some of the OGs getting one. Ben Swee, Steve Hawke, and I don't know who the other 5th one was. Edsy. Good morning to all of you. Make sure you drop a like on the video. But look, let's discuss the game. You would have seen my match reaction yesterday. And, oh, man, that game of football yesterday, it feels that result was fair. That's the first thing I'm going to say. I'm not going to jump on here and start nitpicking decisions, nitpicking X, Y, and Z. Over the course of that 90-minute period, Arsenal did enough to deserve those 3 points. If Manchester United had come away with the draw there, we were kind of holding on in the same way that we tried to hold on against Crystal Palace, and it didn't quite work. It worked away at Leicester early this season when we got a 1-0 win. It worked away at Southampton. It didn't work at Arsenal, and it didn't work at Crystal Palace. I don't particularly think that's what United wanted to do in those last 20 minutes, what Ten Hag wanted to do. But it was a kind of a reality of what we could do with the squad, tiring legs. And I'm going to be speaking about individuals as we progress through this video. We're going to speak about McTominay. We're going to speak about Eriksen, Casemiro, Martinez, Weghorst. And I've seen some mad stuff said about Weghorst after that game yesterday. I really do consider it wild. But the absolute main takeaway that I said yesterday in my match reaction, and I will continue against anybody who tries to argue it. Remember where we are. And remember at what point we are. Man United, going into this game against Arsenal, we played 10 games. We have won 9, and we have drawn 1 against Crystal Palace. And the expectations changed. The expectations were like, oh, shit, mate. Maybe we're in a title race. I let myself think that. But we're 6 months into Ten Hag's tenure, right? And what you're looking at there is an Arsenal team. And I tell you what, there are quite big parallels that you can draw between what Arteta inherited at Arsenal and what Arteta has done since. And the questions that were asked of him, the toxic personalities inside the squad. I have to absolutely congratulate Arsenal. Arsenal? I have to congratulate Arsenal and Arteta on what they've done. Because I can't really begrudge the fact that 2 Arsenal Academy products there scored 3 goals against United. I can't begrudge the fact that Arsenal, they look and they are playing like the best team in the Premier League, because they are the best team in the Premier League right now. Arsenal are Premier League title favourites. We beat them at Old Trafford, and we were, a few minutes away from getting a point at the Emirates. And that would have been a big point. That wouldn't have been a point. It would have been a big point. But this is the main focus that needs to be taken away, right? Ben Mogi, a little bit Sean Connery. Yeah, it probably was a little bit. 6 months in, man. And honestly, if you rewind 6 months, maybe a little bit more than 6 months, but if you rewind to the end of last season and where we were, you would have laughed in the face of anybody that told you that within 6 months, Ten Hag would have beaten City, Liverpool, Arsenal and Spurs at Old Trafford, that we'd be 5 points clear of Spurs in 5th place, and that we'd be in the semi-final of the League Cup. We've got a Barcelona knockout game in the Europa League before the knockouts begin. We're in the 4th. Expectations are the most important thing not to lose sight of. Now, you can let yourself get sort of caught up in the game, caught up in a result and in momentum and everything, and we've let ourselves do that. But if that's where Arteta can get this Arsenal team within 3 years, that's where I want United to be within 3 years. 50 points at the halfway mark in the Premier League, top of the league, flying high. And yeah, that team there, that Arsenal there, was not an Arsenal team that we've typically played. They played like an Arsenal team that's got something different this season. And they do have something different this season. And you can try and pretend that it's not the case, but it absolutely is the case. Now, I'm going to go down here and read a few of your comments out and see what you think. Albert, you're saying we did okay with what was available. Last minute stings. Mate, the last minutes do sting. Absolutely. I was like, please be offside. Please be offside. But no, I think the offside call, it was tight, but I think the offside call was correct. Miss Teacup, you're saying Arsenal were better. I was gutted when the 3rd goal came. We absolutely, mate. Absolutely. I was gutted as hell. The biggest trophy this year is a cup trophy in a top 4. I don't think anybody's losing too much focus on that. I don't think so anyway. Mazid, you're saying Arsenal deserve to win. The Palace draw seems to be more like a loss. It's just, it's tough. As I said, mate, Saka's such a good player. I'm jealous that they got Saka. And Nketiah's come in and done incredibly since Gabriel Jesus got injured. Nobody could have expected that. But when you are title champions, these sorts of things happen. Now, Roy Keane was really quick to effectively be Roy Keane after the game, right? Man United, it's like they haven't moved on from the problems in the past. Let me quickly read these comments here, because I'm going to run through Roy Keane's comments, then Ten Hag's reaction, which is really, really important. Roy Keane here saying it's like they haven't moved on from the problems of the past. This almost deserves a video in itself. United have made progress, but at the end of the game, I'm looking at Shaw, still at left back. There are questions over him, Wan-Bissaka, Fred McTominay. It's like United haven't moved on from the problems of the past. I'm not blaming them, as it was a tough game, and give credit to Arsenal. It was a reality check. I still think United are well short. They were missing players today, but a squad like United should be able to deal with it. Then when the Then when the going got tough, you were looking at the bench and it wasn't great. For all the money they have spent, they are still well short. I think they are certs for top 4, but in terms of competing for league titles, there is a way to go. The shortcomings were the way they defended. We've seen that from the same players over the years. The 2 results over the last few days has really knocked them back. Now, there is a little bit of sense in what Roy Keane is saying, but man, for someone who was just so measured, maybe measured is the wrong word to describe Roy Keane as a midfielder. Yeah, it's just a bit weird, man. It's just, I find a lot of what Roy Keane says these days unnecessarily not inflammatory, but just a little bit over the fucking top. A little. I feel like Keane is really susceptible to a knee jerk. Now this point here is absolutely spot on, because Ten Hag has gone in on that as well. This is what Ten Hag, that's Roy Keane there saying, look, the shortcomings were the way they defended. And he is right there. And what Roy Keane is saying here about, he has to look at this squad, that they haven't moved on from the problems in the past. Roy, we've had one transfer window since Erik Ten Hag took over. Of course, there are still going to be issues inside this squad that were here last season. You can't change a whole squad and an entire club in one transfer window. C'est impossible. It's not possible. So it's just, that's what I mean, for the sake of it being, it's a little bit overly inflammatory. Like, I know you're right, Roy, but shit me, give the club a couple of years to actually do that cycle and change. In the same way it's taken Arteta 3 years to get to this point. They weren't, if you look at Arteta after 6 months and compare there, of course there were still problems inside that squad, but that's what I think I mean when I say that Roy is just being overly critical. And it's a shame, because he does make fair points, and he does make some fair points here about defending. This is what Erik Ten Hag said, right, before the game. He said, we have found the solution to beating them, but they are in the highest position. They're top of the league. That's deserved. They're really consistent. It's difficult to beat them, but we did it. We have to be good to do it again. Details will make the decision. Right? And Ten Hag wasn't wrong. Because if we're looking at this game here and we're looking at the details, it was the details where Manchester United did fall short. In terms of personnel, we know full well, and I'll speak about it in a little bit, but Casemiro, in a game of that intensity, of that speed and that quality, we missed Casemiro more than you can even say. It was abundantly clear that we missed him. But in terms of the details, Erik Ten Hag was not happy with the defending, and he's absolutely spot on. You can look at pretty much every goal that Arsenal scored for issues that existed, especially with that, just all of them. Playing out from the back with the poor defending from De Gea to Wan-Bissaka. I'll speak about that in a little bit later in the show. And it led to the corner. Boom. They get their goal. All three goals had mistakes in them. And this is what Ten Hag focused on in his post-match comments. He said this: maybe in the next couple of hours, I'll realise that we are in a good position, that we are developing well, which is completely true, and that we are in a good process. But in this moment, I'm annoyed. Straight after the game, Ten Hag admitted he was annoyed. Of course he was. It was like a pack of cards with the goals we conceded. We made mistakes and we didn't show discipline. And then you will concede goals. I told the players that if you want to win trophies, titles, you have to change the mentality. It's not possible in a top-level game that you make 3 such big mistakes, especially the last goal. You have to feel the game. A point was the minimum you have to take, and you can't give such a goal away like we did at the top level and win trophies. And Ten Hag's completely spot on. That's what I mean. Like, some of the stuff that Roy Keane says is good. He is right that the shortcomings were there in defending, but he just has to sandwich it in some kind of hyperbole exaggeration, which kind of takes away a little bit of his credibility, in my opinion. But Ten Hag is not somebody who points the finger elsewhere. Ten Hag is somebody who, I mean, he does point the finger. He says, you're a problem, but he does it to himself as well. And this is what I like. This is probably one of my favorite things that Ten Hag said after the game. He was asked, look, about how this mentality improves, because I personally think Ten Hag is right. There is a bit of a mentality issue at that very, very crucial moments. Last 15 minutes against Crystal Palace, where Manchester United could have and should have controlled that game of football. We didn't. Instead, we kind of went a little bit inwards. We kind of invited the pressure on. That led to Casemiro's yellow card. It didn't need to be like that. It shouldn't have been 1-0. It should have been 2-0. The game should have been dead and buried by the time that free kick was given to Elise. Instead, United sort of like, that's all right, we'll just kind of go in a little bit. Mentality. Of course, that comes from coaching as well, telling them, driving them forward. And you might argue that the substitutions that Ten Hag made against Arsenal weren't as effective as they could have been. And I've seen that being thrown around. But then that last 20 minutes against Arsenal, in fact, that whole second half, really, they cranked it up. And when they cranked it up, we didn't have the gear to match it. We didn't have the solidity in defense to combat it. And ultimately, it ended up just collapsing a little bit. Jonathan, you're saying, I don't think it's a mentality issue, but certain players aren't comfortable on the ball under pressure and tiredness. It's all wrapped into the same thing. It's all wrapped into the quality of the player, the mentality of the individual, the confidence in their own self-ability. It's all part and parcel of what Ten Hag is getting at. And now, when you again, you might get annoyed with me when I keep doing this today, but I really do feel that the Arteta parallels with what he has achieved at Arsenal, I think, are a pretty good case study. And Arteta has, without doubt, improved a significant number of players inside that Arsenal squad. They've signed well. Yes, they've signed well. But he's improved a lot of what they've got. That's something that Ten Hag has definitely done already in his short time at United. Whether it's Luke Shaw, whether it's Diogo Dalot, whether it's Wan-Bissaka overall, whether it's Marcus Rashford. There are tons of players who have improved significantly under Ten Hag, but more is needed. And speaking after the game, Ten Hag made it abundantly clear that he wasn't just pointing fingers at everybody saying, oh, you're the problem, you're the problem, you're the problem. He's like, you know what? Me, as a coach, I've got to do more as well. He was asked about how he changes this mentality and sort of raises it so that Manchester United can cope with these last 10 to 15 minutes of games. Because I think with coaching, we can change that. We've already seen how the mentality from the players has changed over the last couple of months. But we also have to notice today that we have a way to go to be on the top level. And that's just what that was. Yesterday wasn't a reality. You want to call it a reality check? If you cool, man, you can use whatever sort of description you want to use. I wouldn't call that a reality check. My reality hasn't changed after what I saw against Arsenal. I've always felt that we're not capable of sustaining a Premier League title push, but I was hoping that this week that something magical could happen, that we could follow that City win by beating Palace, and hell, why not go and beat Arsenal as well? And who knows what sort of impact that would have on the mentality of these players. It could be infectious and something special could happen this season. Instead, we're going back to our original goals of the top four. Ten Hag has made massive improvements to the mentality of this squad. That's why we won 9 games out of our last 10 going into this game against Arsenal. First defeat in a long old time. We've kind of forgotten what losing was like. Dudley, you're saying, I feel Ten Hag's part to blame with his substitutions in the last 2 games. You can start really, like, if you want to point the fingers towards the manager, yeah, I think you can question. I personally think Ten Hag made a mistake in this selection, in this team. I love what he's done so far, but I don't think it really took too much of a rocket scientist to realise this. Let me pull this up. I think Ten Hag has done so much correct, so much right, and he's made some fantastic decisions. But Christian Eriksen in that game, maybe he wouldn't have been able to know that from the get-go. I know why he wanted Christian Eriksen. If you watched how United set up, we set up how Ten Hag wants his team to play. When we were in possession, you saw Wan-Bissaka and you saw Shaw really high up as inverted fullbacks. And what happens then is one of the midfielders drops down to sit to the left or the right of our 2 centre-backs. That was Eriksen, and he does that because he wants him to be the playmaker from deep. That's where he wanted De Jong to play, right? It's just we didn't sign De Jong. But what we saw yesterday, and it's something that we've known, that's what I mean. It wasn't a reality check. We knew this before going into the game. Our starting 11 is very strong. Our squad is weak by comparison. And what we're looking at, and we saw it against Crystal Palace, we've kind of seen it in these last few games, Christian Eriksen is a bit jaded at this moment in time. Now, you might go here in the comments, and I know plenty of you will. Where is it? Is it that photo there? You might say, Sam, Scott McTominay was the biggest problem yesterday. I would disagree. I would say because we didn't have Casemiro, and my word, did we miss Casemiro, by the way. I'll speak about that in a little bit. Because Casemiro wasn't there, McTominay was the clear and obvious replacement inside this current squad, and I understand why he put him there. The bigger mistake I think that Ten Hag made was actually keeping Christian Eriksen on the pitch for a little bit too long ahead of Fred. It was obvious these players were tired. And let's be completely honest, that game against Crystal Palace was fucking bad timing. There are no excuses, but that just makes it that little bit more difficult. And I think at the very top of elite sports, as Ten Hag said before the game, it's the details that will make the decision. And Manchester United, simply put, we looked leggy in those last 25 minutes, last 30 minutes. And given how good Fred was against City, I'm surprised that he didn't start. He was in my predicted 11. And yeah, I think Eriksen is playing like a man who is playing every 3 days and is jaded and needs a rest. But we've got no alternative. No realistic alternative. Alvin, I completely agree down here, saying, look, we lost the game in midfield, and we did lose the game in midfield. And you've got to say, how much of a difference did not having Casemiro have on that team? The whole game itself was frantic, right? It was played at a ridiculous pace. And as I said at the very start, it's been a long time since I feel that United have been involved in a game like that, where it hasn't just been played around us and we've just had to watch it. We were involved in that game. We gave as good as we got. We just fell short towards the end. But Casemiro was the man that we missed massively yesterday, because it's in those moments where you need somebody who's won 5 Champions Leagues, who's done he's been here, he's got the mugs, he's got the T-shirts, he's got all of it. It's not his first rodeo. And in those games, he's the player who's able to sort of like take a touch, barge someone off, play it back to the fullback, calm it down a little bit. You don't just have to fire it long and hope that Antony might do a madness, because it was coming back way too fast. We had no ability to play it through the midfield. Arsenal were pressing us intensely, and we didn't have the confidence to play around it. This is stage 1 of this rebuild, right? When you take key individuals out, if you were to take Casemiro out, if you were to take Varane out of that defense, shit me, we would look a lot more shaky. We haven't really got the quality in our second 11 yet. And we missed him a lot. So I personally think if you're going to accuse Ten Hag of a mistake yesterday, I don't think starting McTominay was the mistake. I think McTominay was the obvious candidate to come in and try and do a job which he couldn't. Not in the same level that Casemiro can. I think the bigger issue was the fact that Christian Eriksen played a little bit too long, and that lack of energy and movement really allowed Arsenal to dominate that midfield, and that's ultimately where they won the game. Ross is saying that 6 shots against 25. We were not in that match. That's why the lack of subs in the game and in-game changes were disappointing. But Ross, the question I would ask you is that what changes do you really think we're going to be? Fred for Eriksen earlier is one I agree with, right? I absolutely agree with. I'm not really sure that you could argue that Garnacho coming on for Antony might have given us something else. And I actually think Antony was okay in that first half. He wasn't incredible. I'm not going to try and say he was incredible. He needs to do more. Yes, he does. But he feels like he had some sort of effect in that game. Again, the man himself, Marcus Rashford, that goal absolutely created out of nothing. Made Thomas Partey, well, he sent Thomas Partey to the shops. He really did. Marcus Rashford was fantastic. Now, somebody I need to have a conversation about this morning, because I can't, for the life of me, this really, really has confused, like properly confused me. Let me get the tweet I sent out, right? Sent this out during the game. I think I sent this out, was it at halftime? There or thereabouts. Let me find it. Because honestly, I'm so confused at the reaction to this. I said this. I said, how good has Weghorst played being as the isolated number 9? Holding up when he can, linking up with others, and his pressing is excellent. Very happy with how he's played so far. And I think Ten Hag would be too. I've got so many pelters for that. And I can't, for the life of me, understand why I'm getting pelters. Weghorst did exactly what he was asked to do by Ten Hag yesterday. No, he didn't score any goals. No, I'm not sure we fired one cross in. Weghorst was playing as that isolated number 9. He was pressing Arsenal. He was forcing them to kick it earlier than they want to. His link-up play was good. He was bringing others into play. If the only measure that people are going to have is, had you scored a goal? Yes, brilliant centre forward. Had you not scored a goal? Shit centre forward. You're just not watching that game properly, man. I find it very, very odd. And look, you know what you want to get a reality check? A reality check is this. Weghorst has been a United player for what? A week now? And he's played 90 minutes twice. That's a reality check. We've got no goddamn strikers. Martial, personally, I'm checked out of the Martial, whatever you want to call it. I'm just checked out with Martial. He's missed 50% of games this season. Take your emotion out of it. Take your sentiment out of it. Take anything out of it and just have an objective decision. We can't rely on that. You cannot build a sustainable Premier League title challenge around a striker who's not there half the time. I think we get a new striker in the summer. I'm going to speak about Harry Kane a little bit later in the show. Osimhen too. Martial gets phased out. He gets moved on. You can't rely on him. Weghorst, to try and criticise him for not scoring in these first 2 games, I think you're just exposing the fact that you're not watching that game properly. Because I find it really, really odd. I'm going to go down and read a few of your comments out down here. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's quite a few who disagree with me there. Jordan, I know a few might disagree, but De Gea was poor. Should have saved the first goal they scored. Plenty of games to go, so we need a central defensive midfielder and a defender. Jordan, I'll speak about De Gea a little bit later in the show, but we need to have a conversation around De Gea as well. Drew players away for Rashford's goal, says John. I think he was good. He pressed well. He's also been with us only a few days. Weghorst had a good game. Well, I said a great game. What are we going down there? Hold up play is good against a low block team. When you're playing counter attack, you need pace and move. Yeah, I'm not denying that we need pace and movement. He doesn't have it. Let's not criticize him for what he isn't. Oh, as if Weghorst didn't run that 100 meters in 9.4 seconds. No, he fucking never will. He's not that sort of player. But I'm not criticizing for what he can't do. Martial can't score headers because he's not 6'4". That's weird. My point here is that people, I don't know what you're expecting of Weghorst. He did exactly what Ten Hag would have asked him to do. Yeah, we need more in attack. But shit me, it's almost like we've just signed a striker on loan from Burnley in January because we've got no money. Reality check. That's a reality check. I just find it really, really weird. Like, you're arguing for the sake of arguing. Like, yeah, that's not what United need. Where are the standards? Standards are in the pits. It's like, fucking hell. We've got nothing. We've got no strike. Martial, he may as well be a ghost. I don't know. I don't think he should be playing every game. We don't have. You could say, look, other options. Yeah, we should be playing Rashford through the middle. What, and take Rashford away from his best position when he is in the form of his life? No, you keep Rashford where Rashford has been crushing it. Even if that means Garnacho is on the bench at this particular moment in time, it doesn't matter. Rashford is killing it, and you don't take him away from that spot. Weird. I find it weird that people are trying to criticize Weghorst for his performance yesterday. Weird. That's what I think. So anyway, somebody who I won't criticize for yesterday. There he is. I've been waiting for that. I've absolutely been waiting for that. Martinez getting his first goal, and I'm just fuming. I'm fuming for the fact that goal effectively means nothing now. It's just, it's a goal in the defeat. It's not going to be something to celebrate. It's not going to be something to take away from it at all. But Martinez getting his first goal, mate, he wanted to jump in the away and put hood up and just like disappear into the crowd. Loved it. He absolutely loved it. I think it's the first headed goal that Arsenal have conceded this season. He threw himself in, and it just, look at him, man. Black eye, bandana on, giving everything. He plays like a future captain of this football club, man. He really, really does. I'm devastated for the fact that that goal means absolutely nothing now. Edwin, you're saying Ajax is missing him very, very much. Geez, what they drew against Feyenoord yesterday, and I don't think Alfred Schroeder is having the best of time. This is what Martinez said after the game. It was not the end we wanted, but definitely no time to feel too down. Heads up, and we go again together for the next one. Nice to score my first goal, and thanks once again for the fantastic away support. I'm so upset that that goal means nothing. I've been waiting for that. I've been waiting for Martinez because I knew the celebrations would be wild. But going back to the overall point that we're trying to, this isn't a time for anybody to start fucking finger pointing. Like, you're crazy. You're crazy. It's time to try and have a balanced overview of where we are and where we've been and where we're getting towards. And I think for me personally, now there's going to be some of you who disagree with this, no doubt, in the comments. But for me personally, this criticism here of Weghorst is a little bit like, what are you expecting? What you're honestly expecting? Him to be coming in, banging in hat tricks like Haaland? No, it won't happen. We were scraping the barrel. This is the best that we could get from the barrel at this moment in time on a 6-month deal. But Ten Hag has really taken us with massive, massive strides forward. And you know what we've got this week? We've got a League Cup semi-final. 48 hours time, we're here playing Forest. Well, not here physically, but we've got Nottingham Forest in the League Cup semi. Then we've got Reading in the FA Cup on Saturday night, followed by the second. We've got three cup games in a row. Fair play to Arsenal. I can't say they didn't deserve it. I think they did deserve it. Arsenal absolutely are the best team in the Premier League right now. And Josh, this is a very fair comment down there. Why do we look gassed after 70 minutes? It's almost like we don't have a squad strong enough and deep enough to play Ten Hag's style of football. It's almost like we're playing similar 11s and that we just can't sustain it at the highest level for the rest of it. The game against City was a bit of a different game, wasn't it? If you compare the tempo of the two games, game against City, we have Fred, man marking De Bruyne. Man United just stayed firm and disciplined and in shape in that first half, which meant we had the energy to really go out and attack those. And that's why we were able to have that pace and sustain that through to the end. Against Arsenal, it was relentless from the first minute. And given that we played Crystal Palace a few days before, in those finer details, those finer moments, the energy just wasn't quite there. And as I said, if you're going to try and criticize Ten Hag for a midfield decision, I don't think it should be the fact that McTominay started. I think it should be the fact that probably Christian Eriksen stayed on that pitch just a little bit too long when it was obvious that the game was just being played at a pace that was above where he was capable of competing with. And that is why Manchester United need not only a powerful goal scorer in number 9 this summer, we need another big central midfield signing. You're looking at 2 big signings this season to solve 2 big issues inside this squad. And number 9 and also central midfielder. Whether that's going to be Frenkie de Jong, it won't be Frenkie de Jong, but someone of the Frenkie de Jong ilk. That's exactly why he wanted to sign one. Now, there's so much more that we need to speak about this morning. How many people are watching? Let's have a quick look. We've got 1,500 watching and there's just under 300 likes. So there's 1,200 of you right now. If you would, please drop a like on the video. I know it's not the happiest of conversation points this morning, but as a community, I think we can talk it through. And I don't think we're too knee-jerk here on United People's TV. I think we focus on the real end goal. And the end goal is top 4 this year and a trophy. We're 5 points clear of 5th. We're in the League Cup semi-final. We've got a double header coming up against Barcelona in February. That's going to be an absolute cracker. And we've got Reading in the FA Cup 4th round. And Arsenal play City as well in that. The 2 best teams so far this season are playing each other and one of them will go out. We're in all the cup competitions. Let's find out what's coming next. But in terms of what we need this summer, now, this is what the poll's going to be about this morning, right? I'm going to put this up straight away because there's 3 players I've got here. I'm going to add a 4th name onto this list. I want to see what you're thinking about your dream summer striker signing, because there's 2 names who are definitely on the list: Kane and Osimhen. I'm going to add Sesko on there as well, and somebody who quite a lot of people are talking about is Vlahovic. Maybe that's just because of what's going on at Juve. I don't quite know. This news came out of the weekend. I'll tell you what, I could even do a video on itself on just this and the response that there was, but there were so many responses down here. Paulie, you're saying Kane, Osimhen, Sesko. This is what I mean. Osimhen, Kane, you can't rely on Kane, Sesko. There were about 200, 250 different replies. Let me pull up this graphic. This cracking graphic was made. Look at that. Look how good that is. But these are 3 names most certainly on the list. And my video today that's going to be going out is going to be all around Harry Kane. We've had conversations about Harry Kane quite a lot. And I need to do a video on him for sure after the latest update from David Ornstein that came out just before we went live. And that's this: that Harry Kane is open to signing a new Spurs deal. This is what he says. How Tottenham's campaign ends, as well as their recruitment and prospects of success, are sure to be key factors. While the offer to Kane will carry obvious importance, Spurs' plans and ambitions have always been central to his thinking. It is well documented that Kane's wish would be to win trophies at Tottenham, and he is said to be focused on doing that in the coming months rather than leaving. Although all representatives speak to possible suitors for their players, Kane's have not held serious discussions over an exit. Kane, look, it's a bit, I've got to be honest, it's a bit odd. And for some people, and then everybody's different. Everybody's kind of like, loyalty is pretty dead in football. Let's be totally honest. We all loved it. One club players, Scholes and Giggs, and what they mean to clubs, man, they're incredible. Loyalty doesn't really exist in football. And I can see it in the comments down here. Everybody going, well, Kane's got no ambition then. Ha! But if Kane wants to stay at Spurs because he's loyal to Spurs, then wow, I can't really say much about that. We definitely need to have a debate. And that's what that video is going to be at lunchtime. I'm going to look at all the pros about Harry Kane, why you would sign him, why he would be a good signing, and all the cons of signing Harry Kane, his age, blah, blah, blah. And then you can let me know in that video itself whether you think Kane will be the smartest signing. But according to David Ornstein, he's open to signing a new contract. And maybe that loyalty to Spurs is deeper than kind of anybody even thought it was. Jordan, nice to see you rejoining as a member there. SVL, what are you saying? We play 3 games a week every week until mid-Feb. I hope Ten Hag rotates the team because it's not sustainable. Arsenal has time to recover before the game. Hey, look, the fact that we had that Palace game, like, as I said, go back to it. I'll say it one more time before we end this conversation. Details will make the difference. One detail was we played Crystal Palace in that game in a week where Arsenal just had the entire week to rest. That did hurt United in the last 20 minutes of that game. That's why we were leggy. And not having Casemiro as well was a big, big blow. Those 2 things combined just took that little bit of an edge away from United. But it ultimately isn't an excuse. And I'm not here as an excuse, but it doesn't mean that you can't take it. And this is the truth. This is what happened, all right? No one's pointing to excuses, but this is what happened. It's called context. But yeah, Harry Kane. Let me see what you're saying on the poll here originally. We've got 400 votes in straight away. 21% of you are saying sign Harry Kane, but 49% of you are saying Victor Osimhen from Napoli. Sesko is getting 14%, whilst Vlahovic is getting 16%. Let me pull up some of your questions. You're saying Osimhen will fit in with his style. Josh, you'd say you'd rather see Charlie McNeil come through. Fun fact. I think the worst ever take I've ever had. I did an article once, and I said, Man United shouldn't sign Harry Kane because it would stunt James Wilson's growth. Yeah, I said that. as it still stands as the worst take I've ever had in football. Let me see what you're saying down here, though. Rather have Tammy Abraham over Kane. That's a different one. And you're saying, I don't want to play like Kane, who continually drops deep. He's certainly adapted his game at Spurs. That's why he gets so many assists there. Osimhen would be a perfect signing. What about Jamie? Sorry. Gag reflex there, kicking in when someone mentioned Jamie Vardy. Sesko was signed by Leipzig, but if United came in, then Leipzig could just make a massive profit on Sesko before he's even played a game. Vlahovic, in theory, would be much easier. Ivan Toney, no one's going near Ivan Toney until that whole betting situation is sorted. Kane would be okay, but there are many more out there. It really is. I think it's a very interesting debate. Bow on the podcast, and that we're recording the latest podcast episode tonight. There's no doubt that Harry Kane, I'm looking at Harry Kane and I'm saying guaranteed 20 Premier League goals. Guaranteed. I think that's something that none of the other strikers that we have offer. They might get it, but I would go as far as to say that Kane is guaranteed 20 Premier League goals. But it's a very interesting one. It really, really is. Tammy Abraham is a bit of an odd one. I have to be completely honest. I wouldn't really have kind of brought him up as an option. But for a lot of people, Harry Kane is the prime and should be the prime target for United. We've had just over 500 votes now, and it's sitting 49%. 49% are saying Osimhen. And I'm not too surprised about that. He is, if we're looking at the elite strikers in Europe's top 5 leagues, you're probably looking at Victor Osimhen as, arguably the best that's going to be available this summer. There's no point like throwing Haaland or other strikers who aren't available into that pool of players. Osimhen, if United want him, it's going to be big old money. We're talking 100 mil plus easily. But look, Adebayo, you're talking, say, mention his age, mention everything. Trust me, I'm going to do a full video on Harry Kane going out at lunchtime today, because we know full well. I'm not saying that United right now under Ten Hag are in a similar position. We're not, right? We're not in a similar position to how Liverpool were before they signed Alisson and Van Dijk, and then they went on to become that team. But I'm saying it's quite obvious, for me anyway, and I'm sure quite a lot of you would agree, it's obvious that United need a new number 9 and another top-class playmaking central midfielder of the De Jong ilk. Of course it will be the De Jong ilk. It probably won't be him, and I don't think we should go back. If we go back in for him, man. There is every chance that we go back in for De Jong, by the way. I will not rule that out. But it's obvious that we need those two players. And in the same way that Liverpool signing Alisson, Van Dijk helped them and elevated their squad completely, I don't think that signing those two players will make Manchester United as good as Liverpool were at that point, but it will certainly, it's a huge next step. That's stage 2. That is absolutely stage 2. Lots of you were talking about Daniel Levy down there. Ahmad, you're saying Kane is class, but personally, no. There's options, right? There's 3 of them. Osimhen, there's Kane, there's Sesko. I'll be speaking about all of them in some detail over the next few months, just in the same way I'm going to be speaking about our new owners. Anybody who wants an update on that, there isn't particularly a major update over the weekend. I've covered the absolute latest on that. Harris and Blitzer, they're being linked. We're putting a bid in for Manchester United with a minority investment. Anybody here who's subscribed to United People's TV will know full well I've covered the Harris and Blitzer investment firm, whatever you want to call it. I did a video on them back on the 4th of December, profiling them and why Manchester United should avoid them. Minority ownership. We're hearing quite a lot of that. Murmurs and rumors about US investment firms coming in. Harrison Blitzer being one of them. 6th Street was another one that did deny it, but it still kind of gets the same conversation flowing. They're dangerous. Any minority investments are dangerous for Manchester United. But looking forward to the summer, Harry Kane, Victor Osimhen, Benjamin Sesko, Dusan Vlahovic, Lautaro Martinez. There's so many different strikers you can throw into this. Gonzalo Ramos as well. We're signing a powerful striker, whether it's Kane or not. We can have a debate about that in the comments. 60% of you, over 600 votes now, and 48% of you are saying Victor Osimhen. So it's quite clear where you wanted to go. Now, an interesting development that's happened here is that Manchester United have had a little bit of a change behind the scenes. Tom Keane has left the club. Now, you'll remember that Tom Keane was brought in to Manchester United on a bit of a temporary basis during the summer, just gone, when Matt Judge resigned. Matt Judge was the chief, I think he was chief negotiator, chief of something, transfer chief, whatever you want to call him. He was the man who was in charge of negotiations and certainly helping with the contracts. Tom Keane came in and helped during the summer. It was kind of expected that he would be staying on a full term, but he's actually not. He's left the club. This is from David Ornstein. Had been expected to return to the club on a permanent basis, but instead has gone back to his law firm, Brandsmiths. Came in as a replacement for Matt Judge. But look, Manchester United at this moment in time, David Ornstein says it down here, this is part of a consequence of Manchester United waiting for new owners. The uncertainty over United's ownership has altered the plans, with some appointments on hold while the Glazer family go through a sale process that could see major change at Old Trafford. So Tom Keane has left the club. It's not something that's going to be game-changing or anything like that. It's just quite an interesting one that's happened at this particular moment in time. There will be huge changes. I hope there will be huge changes behind the scenes at Man United when it comes to our board structure. When new owners come in, they're likely to bring in what they should be bringing in are the best in class. It's the reason why City have been successful. It's not just because they got the oil money. It's because they got the oil money and they've got the right people to be in control of those purse strings to do that job properly. So Tom Keane leaving, it's kind of indicative of Manchester United heading towards this new ownership structure that will be happening. That's what I think so anyway. One thing I want to say quickly is congratulations to the women's team. I think they won 1-0 at the weekend? And they took advantage of Chelsea, I believe, dropping points. And they are now top of the Women's Super League. Look at that. Man United, just go full screen there. Man United's women's top of the Super League. Congratulations to them. Let's see if they can go and win a title this year. At Massid, you want Edwards as a DOF, and Ben Hodgson, you're saying the same thing too. Carl, you're saying, what was his specific job at United? He was the man, he went with John Murtough to sort out the Anthony. He was directly involved in the contracts because he was a lawyer, it was a solicitor. He was involved in the actual drawing up of the contracts and the actual wording of it and getting it done and over the line. He was somebody who came in, actually did a little bit more than what Matt Judge did, but he's left the club. So Man United do not have the structure right now to head into the summer transfer window. There's so much change that has to happen at this club. But let's go back to the original talking point today, right? That was a real... To concede 2 90-plus minute goals, one that turns a draw into a defeat and one that turns a victory into a draw, it's 4 points dropped. So that means Manchester United, from these 3 games, we all spoke about it. What would you have taken? What do you think is a good result from City, from Palace, and from Arsenal? Me personally, I said 5 points. I think I would have been happy with 5 points, and we were heading for 5 points, but we just fell short. Now, quite a few of you down here are rightly mentioning David De Gea, and it's just something that I can't mute that voice in the back of my head. I can't mute that voice in the back of my head that is just telling me that David De Gea is not the right goalkeeper for Manchester United going forward. In the long term, I don't think he is. And it doesn't matter. De Gea has improved. Yes, he has improved. But yesterday, my word, we lacked composure because McTominay was there instead of Casemiro. And we massively lacked composure pretty much any time David De Gea had the ball. Arsenal, with their incessant pressing with Saka and Nketiah and Martinelli, they were closing down the spaces. They were closing down United. They were pressuring United. And De Gea didn't really know what to do. It's a really good comment there from Hadi. And that's exactly, in my opinion, that's exactly what David De Gea is. He's good. David De Gea is good. But good is not good enough. And another thing to throw into that is, look, is what got you here won't get you there. David De Gea has been part of this club for so long. He's the only one, I think, still inside that squad who knows what it is to win the Premier League with Manchester United. But it doesn't mean that he's going to be taking us forward into this new style of football, this new brand of football that is building under Erik Ten Hag. And it was a big problem for me yesterday. I think it was a kind of a big reason why Arsenal were able to pressurize us so much. I would be fine and kind of happy with David De Gea signing a new contract on reduced terms if it came with the caveat saying, look, right, you do know that we're going to be signing a new goalkeeper. You're going to be competing with him. And if he's fine with that, then good. But De Gea's improved this season. He has improved. But in these big games, go back to it there, reiterate the point that Ten Hag said, details will make the decision. The details, the finer details of David De Gea's game yesterday let Manchester United down. It invited pressure onto us too much. It was partly responsible for their equaliser, the ball to Wan-Bissaka. Look, even when the ball went to Wan-Bissaka should have had the ability to take it back. David De Gea could come to the right edge of his box and be the option, but instead he kind of stood where he was. Wan-Bissaka didn't have that ability to turn around. It's a personal opinion, all right? And I know it's a personal opinion. I know there's going to be people who would disagree with me. But if I'm looking at three fundamental signings for this football club that will really take us from where we are, and right. Let's bring up the Premier League table. Let's wrap up with the Premier League table on the screen because I think it's really important that we understand this and finish on this note. There's no doubt that Manchester United have improved, right? Like substantially improved. Let's get this up here. This is a really good point to finish on. Ooh. Thank you. Right. This is the Premier League table right now. Okay. Manchester United, as you can see, sitting there in 4th position with 6 points ahead. Is that 6 points? Yeah. 6 points ahead of Tottenham Hotspur after 20 games. We have massively improved from where we were last season. If we go here, filter by season, let's go last season, where we finished 6th and we were 13 points behind Spurs. Let's see where we were after match week 20, actually. That'll be an interesting comparison. We were 6th. We were 4 points behind Arsenal in 4th. And now we look at this season where Manchester United are. We're 6 points ahead of Spurs, right? We've improved massively. But what got you here won't get you there. What got Manchester United to this point will not get Manchester United back to winning Premier League titles. And for me, there's 3 fundamental signings for that to happen. That's from if we're at stage 1, stage 2. Part of that stage 2 is a brand new number 9. Our new Van Nistelrooy type player, a proper goal scorer. That's what we need. Number 2, an absolutely top level signing midfield signing like Jude Bellingham. I don't think we're able to. Maybe we will be able to afford him with new owners. I don't know. But a Jude Bellingham level signing in midfield, and I would argue a third one of that is a different goalkeeper that's more astute to this modern style. It's not that his style is modern because David De Gea is Spanish. He's been grown. He grew up on a diet of this sort of football, but the intensity of it is just kind of cranked up quite a few notches. And I do not think that David De Gea is that guy in the long term. All right. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm not ruling David De Gea out completely because I think he's improved this season. But that's just, in my opinion, that's the way I see the 3 fundamental signings. But look, last couple of minutes of the show, so many of you tuning in. Thank you all for joining. Look, if you're new here to United People's TV, my name's Sam. This is United People's TV. We're here live 10 a.m. Monday to Friday. I genuinely try to make these shows as interactive as possible. I answer as many comments and opinions. You can fire in your questions now for the last couple of minutes. We've ran through the entire game. I'm here 10 a.m. Monday to Friday. Make sure you do subscribe. I'd love to have you as part of the community. Rahman, you're saying we're not going to win a title ever without proper structure in terms of a team. The structure is there. The structure is there. The quality in the squad is not there yet. De Gea looks better with Casemiro. That I would agree with, Glenn. I think everybody looks better with Casemiro in the team. Eriksen looks better. Bruno looks better. Just the entire team looks better with Casemiro in because we are a better team with him in. Chadwick, you didn't speak about Wan-Bissaka. Wan-Bissaka's been brilliant these last few games. And then we saw the weaknesses of Wan-Bissaka yesterday. Under big pressure, he kind of reverted to character a little bit. The body language, I said, that's been one of the biggest improvements in these last few weeks. The body language wasn't there. He wasn't receiving the ball in the right positions. because he was scared. He just wanted to shield the ball away. Just go there and just hold on to it. Oh, there's nobody to pass to. Fuck. Loses the ball. And then they get the equaliser out of it. Or you're saying you're taking a new right back over a new goalkeeper first. Oh, I'm not sure that. I don't think so. I like that. I'm holding on to that one, Jonathan. It's a good chant. Big up Yap Stan, by the way. Arsenal still had to play City. Of course they do. I think they've got to play them twice. I think Bruno had a poor game yesterday. Mentioned that in my match reaction. I think Bruno's influential. I think Bruno needed to be better yesterday. We desperately needed Bruno to take a little bit of the scruff of the game yesterday. He couldn't. He was caught up in the emotion of it all, but he wasn't able to slow that game down. And that's not really what Bruno does. Bruno is not a player to slow games down. Bruno is the sort of player who speeds games up. That's why we needed Casemiro to be the foil to Bruno. That would have brought the balance. Instead, it was kind of too full tilt and we kept losing the ball. In my opinion, Weghorst is good at linking play but no speed. That's exactly what he is. I mean, he's a 6'6" dude. He's not going to be rapid. He's not going to be rapid at all. Oh, Rob, look at that. Big up to you, my friend, for remembering. Yes, he's good. His knee. Big up to Dad, who's probably watching this. His knee has got 20 degrees extra bend in it. He's going to be getting back on the bike. He's going to be coming on away at Reading for United. He's not. But look, thank you very much for asking that. What he's saying there. I still think City will win the league, says Malps. Hey, look, I'm going to finish on this one note, right? Somebody made me realise, I think it was Connor, my mate, who made me realise this the other week. There's one point in the season where I was looking at Arsenal and I was thinking, as if Arsenal are going to win the league. I was like, it can't be Arsenal. No, surely not Arsenal. And he made me realise that if City win the league this year, they win 3 in a row. And as soon as he said that, I realised I wanted Arsenal to win the league if United can't. So Arsenal, you go and do you. If they win the league, they absolutely deserve to win the league. Anybody who wins the league deserves to win the league. But if it means that City don't win 3 in a row, I'm fine with that. I'm totally fine with that. Arsenal, as everybody sent down in the comments, any day of the week over City. I think the Arsenal are looking like the team that I want United to be in a couple of years. Which is, I can't believe I'm saying that. But I mean, from where they were 3 years ago to where they are now, it's brilliant. Progression's been huge. It's because they've trusted the manager. Look, let's see how many people voted on the votes. We've had just shy of 1,000. It's about 1,000 votes. 49% of you are saying Osimhen. 49% of you are saying Osimhen. That's a big, big vote for Osimhen. Just over 500 likes on the video. Big up to all of you. My video is going to be on Kane today. Seven Samurai is an interesting question. How do you feel about picking up Gravenberch from Bayern? I don't know about that. Of course, remember, Gravenberch was the effectively the De Jong replacement inside that squad in Ajax, and the one from the academy. He went to Bayern. I don't know whether he's settled at Bayern. He's become a stalwart at Bayern. That's a very interesting point of conversation to have. And no, I want both of them to be found guilty of something and deducted 30 points. If anyone's going to get deducted points, it'd be Spurs with Paratici, banned from football for 30 months, I think. But look, big up to Manchester United. Fair play to Arsenal. What I saw yesterday was not the Arsenal team that I remember that we've all seen and poked and laughed at for so long. This Arsenal team is the best in the league. Credit where it's due. They got 3 goals yesterday, all of them scored by academy graduates. And Saka, man, I love Saka. I'd love to have Saka. I think he's a wonderful player. I really, really do. Don't lose focus of the ultimate progress we've made. All right, 6 months into this, I'm very happy with how Ten Hag has got us playing. Now that I suppose the conversations around the title will probably disappear, and you kind of don't lose. Now we focus. League Cup semi-final this week against Forest. I can see quite a few of you down there in the comments saying, look, huge changes for Forest. Hell no. Or maybe some changes. Maybe, I don't know. As full strength as that team can possibly be. League Cup semi, we are 3 games away from winning that trophy. And getting that first trophy is crucial for changing this. Ben Hodgson, I don't know whether you're correct right now. Let me just see if you are correct. Let me see this here. Let me see if it's true. No, I don't know if it is. But Lampard, I reckon he will get sacked at some point soon. It's almost like Lampard. Like Ollie was better than Lampard. But look, thank you all for tuning in today. I'm going to stop waffling. My video going out at lunchtime is a very crucial one. It's a big video, the main debate about Harry Kane and whether you think he is the number 9. Because we know what we need to focus on. That number 9, that ball-playing central midfielder. And whether or not we can get a goalkeeper probably depends on budgets. But fair play, Arsenal. That was a tough game, but a very entertaining game for the neutral. It was entertaining. It was nervy. We just came shy. Ten Hag said it was going to be about details. Ultimately, we fell just short of that. Thank you all for tuning in. I'll be here tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. and I'll be here very, very soon. My lunchtime video. Take it easy. Speak to you soon.